Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Sunny here, and today we are going to cover everything you need to know about the sovereign weapons. We're going to cover how do you make them, how do you enhance them, which ones you're getting first. We're also going to be covering the Failstacks, optimal Failstacks. We're also going to be looking at the new reform stones, some different builds for PvE, PvP, and PvX. And also, where do you get all these things? Is there some tips and tricks and things you should be preparing already? And there is. So let's get straight into it. The first question is, how do you, of course, make them? And to make the sovereign weapons, you need to go to the statue right here. It is next to the Black Shrine at Mount Ashi. Even if you haven't explored this, you can see this boss on the map. You can just path to it and you'll go right past it. It's over here in Land of the Morning Light Part 2. And to make them, you do not need to do any quest. There is no pre-quest or pre-request for this. All you gotta do is go here and talk to this statue. And you then have 3 different options. This here, where you add in double pin black stars. This here, where you add in a pin black star and the Primodial Flame, where you're gonna need 100 pity pieces. We'll cover those right after. And then this one here, where you go with a pin black star and a C20 Saka, and then this gem of Twilight, which you can craft with 20,000 Kaffir stones. So you just put them in, and quick note about this. If you need to put in 2 main hands to make a main hand sovereign, and 2 awakenings to make an awakening sovereign. However, the class does not matter for this. So if I'm on my warrior here, and I put in, let's say, a witch main hand weapon and a guardian main hand weapon, I can then craft it and I will get a warrior main hand weapon. So the 2 weapon types doesn't matter as long as they're the same, main hand or awakening. You will get the weapon for the class you are doing this on. So you can use this as a option to reroll if that's what you want to do without having to use weapon swap coupons. Let's quickly cover the flame. This here is Embers of the Primodial. You need 100 of these to make the flame. So you can do it with a pin black star and the flame. Now, this is not something you should expect to do unless you're a newer player. Let me explain why. The way you get the Embers of the Primodial, the only way you get these is by doing the 4 weekly world bosses. There is Utori up here. You should put an ult. Then there is Bulgoshi down here. You should put an ult. Also at the Pig King, Black Shrine over here, and Sangoon over here. And you should put an ult of all of those, and make sure you kill them once a week. Everyone should do this, and if you're a newer player, you should get an ult out there as soon as possible. You just have to hit it. It works like Garmoth, so you hit it, and then you get a reward up in the right corner. You just claim the box. Now, you are guaranteed to get 1 of these per boss. So that means you can get a maximum of 4 per week. There is a way you can get a 5th one by doing a weekly quest of killing any of the party bosses on any difficulty. But if you're lower geared, it is 300 AP recommended normal, 330 on hard. So it's not necessarily realistic for newer players to be able to do this, but you can and should put an ult out there to get these Primodial. Now, since you are hard capped at 4 to 5, it means it will take you between 20 and 25 weeks to get the flame for your free secondary pin black star for upgrading. And this means it's basically unrealistic to do for anyone except a newer player. It's not meant for people like me to get basically 100 billion silver drop. You can drop the full Primodial Flame from the boxes, from the weekly bosses, and also the boss shrine. But it's such a low chance, I wouldn't expect anyone to really ever get it. Maybe someone gets it eventually, but do not expect this. Again, it's 100 billion silver value items, so the chance gotta be low. You can do this and save them up, and you should be doing that over time. Quick note about the weekly boss drop. It's only from hard mode, not from normal. So again, it's even more unrealistic, and if you're already doing hard, then yeah. So for me personally, I'm going to save these up, and then eventually maybe we'll get the Sovereign offhands, and maybe I can get a Flame for that in prep for it, so I don't need 2 Pin Black Star offhands. Next question that I often get about this is which weapon should you get first? Should you get the main hand or the Awakening? And the answer is very simple. If you play Awakening, you should get the Awakening weapon first. If you're playing Succession, you get the main hand weapon first. When you make the Sovereign Weapon main hand, it actually gains 2 AP to equalize the AP between Awakening and main hand, finally, after all these years. But that doesn't mean you should be getting that. You are looking to be upgrading one of them, right, to get the benefit out of it, and you want to upgrade the primary weapon that you use. Also, a quick note about getting them. Unless you already have a spare pin Blackstar, you should not be going for that and your Sovereign Weapon until you have 5 set depots. A secondary pin Blackstar is like 90 billion silver. A Chet depot these days are 30 to 40 billion silver. So you could almost get 3 Ted depots, get a 12 AP bonus, just to be able to make a space Sovereign Weapon, which doesn't have any more stats. So quick note about that. Do check out my gear guide in the description where I cover this and look at the best progression path. And also, if you are like a newer player and you're not there yet, it also gives you time to work on these bosses and maybe get your 100 Primodial Embers, so you can save 100 billion silver and not need 2 pin Blackstars for a Sovereign Weapon. Okay, so now you have gotten your Sovereign Weapons. How do you upgrade them? To upgrade the Sovereign Weapons, you are going to need a new enhancing material called the Primodial Blackstone. This is the new enhancing stone to get them. The Primodial Stones should be sitting on the marketplace at absolute min price. On NA, they've been a bit slow to drop down, but on all other regions, they are sitting at absolute min price, 50 million silver, and these right here are gonna eventually hit absolute min price of 75 million silver. These are the stones you use to upgrade. Now, to make these stones, you need one of the smaller stones, these here, plus 2 sharps and 10 kaffers. Then you can heat them and make them. How do you get these stones? Well, you can get 20 of the upgraded stones by doing the main questline of Land of Moloch Part 2. It is totally not worth it. Only do the new questline if you want to get a cool story, some cool lore. I did it. It was really dope. No spoilers, but it's great. And you don't need to do it, so only do the questline because you want to get the story, the cutscenes, and also fight the new bosses one-on-one. They're pretty damn good. So how do you get them? Well, you can buy them, which is the best, but you also get 8 for every world boss you do. So there are 4 world bosses. They give you a guaranteed bundle once a week. So 4 world bosses times 8, that is 32 of those enhancing stones you can get every single week by going in and just hitting those bosses once. That is currently the only way of getting them. The weekly bosses, and then 20 from doing the questline once. They don't drop from the boss rush. They don't drop from the new party bosses. But again, there is almost 300,000 sitting min listed on career. So it's very easy to just buy them. Or you can save them up over time if you're doing the bosses anyway. Now let's take a look at cost of upgrading them and Failstacks needed. This right here is a spreadsheet done by bprimegaming. Link in the description to both this and his channel. Go show him some love. He's an awesome dude. He's also the guy behind all of the gathering calculators and profit margins with that. He's done so much work for this here. So this is his. These are the ones I've been using myself. They are value optimized as well. So you can see here, he even has one where he's looking at Crunstone cost with 3 million, and then also one with NA Crunts, basically costume Crunstone's cost and value. So the suggested Failstacks are over here. 50, 70, 116, 156, 200, etc., etc. And the best course of action for enhancing is actually raw tapping pry attempts, do attempts, and try attempts. Now, you can cron tries if you really want to, but you can see the price. Even if you're getting costume Crunstones, it's on average 1 billion silver more, but it's very close. But if you're getting vendor Crunstones, it will cost you on average 7.1 billion silver to making a try. with Cronstones versus just raw tapping it, where it's only going to be 4 billion, 4.3 billion. So the best optimized, especially with min-priced enhancing stones, are raw tapping price, do, and try. And then you're going to be cronning for Tet all the way up to deck. So these are the Failstacks I would recommend. These are the ones I've been using, and this here is getting updated over time if any changes arises, so link will be in the description. Finally, let's touch on the new Reform Stones. Now the Reform Stones is something that also drops from the 4 world bosses. Another reason why you really should be getting ults out there, or make sure you kill them once a week. We can use your main for it now with the teleport, but make sure you kill those bosses. The 4 world bosses plus the party boss rush are currently the only ways of getting these Reform Stones that you can put into your Sovereign Weapons. And you can put 5 into your main hand and 5 in Awakening. You can put the same into main hand and Awakening, but you cannot put multiple of the same in the same weapons. So you can use, in total, 2 of the same. 1 in main hand, 1 in Awakening. The Reform Stones here, as you can see, some of them, not very useful ones, are sitting. But all the very useful ones, the good ones, they are completely sold out. Lots of bits. And they're still sold out in Korea right now, even though they got this a lot sooner than us. So you can try and put bits in, but don't really expect to be able to get the good ones. Now, what are the good ones? Let's take a look at some bits builds. I'm going to cover basically 3 cookie cutter builds. There will, of course, be variations in this, depending on your class, your build, are you DR or evasion, etc, etc. Also, some classes have specific stone they do need, mainly the crit rate one, but I'll cover that here now. So, in general, the absolute best ones is going to be double AP here. Everybody would want this. Second is going to be double crit damage. Crit damage is only 1%, while the other ones are 2%, but this works at everything. This is for PvE, PvP, across the board. They're just great. And now we get into a bit of a different territory. So, let's make a full PvE build. For pure PvE, best in slot, you are looking at double back attack. And now there's a bit of options here. Now, most classes will need 1 crit rate. In PvE and PvP for that matter, if you have 50% crit rate on an ability, you get 18 for having 5 crit, and then 30% from having the add-on. That only brings you to 98% crit. And if you have less than that, well, then you have reduction of that, right? So let's say you have 40% crit abilities, then you have only 88%. And any ability missing 2% crit, 1 crit rate is going to be the absolute best. It's going to be probably the number 1 stone to get for any class that cannot hard cap their crit 100%. There's a couple of classes that will want to run 2 of these. For example, Awakening Witch. I think most classes that has a lot of summoned attacks, like Assassin, would want to run double crit rate. But most will want to run at least 1. A few exceptions would be Warrior and Valkyrie that can 100% crit out. So let's put 1 in here for good measures. And that leaves us with 3 here. It gives you a bit of option. You can go for accuracy. I personally like either, if you don't need the crit rate, I would run accuracy, either 1 or 2. Or if you need the double crit, you can drop the accuracy. Accuracy is actually still useful at in-game spots. Tongued Ruins has a lot. I covered recently that the miss indicator is bugged, so you might actually be missing even if you don't see miss pop up. So that's something to be aware of. Also, we don't have the testing yet on the new DK level 2. Also, the new stuff coming out is potentially gonna be more on accuracy. So it's not completely useless in PvE. Now, the new spots are getting harder and harder and harder. For the last year, I would go either Black Spirit Recovery. It only adds more to the basic tick. It doesn't allow you to generate it really faster on kills or anything. But you can get 1% more on your ticks. Alternative is going all DR for a bit of survivability. So personally, I would go DR on it. So this here would be something like my BIS full PvE. With the few adjustments like I talk about, maybe you want to run a double crit rate. Now let's look at a PvP build. Again, you're pretty much the same here. This time you definitely want to get DR in. All DR becomes a must-have. And for me personally, the last 4 becomes preference. So here you would want either, you would go ignore resistance if you need that, or you would go accuracy. In general, I would go down attack on both here for PvP. I'm a huge fan of down attack. And I would go all accuracy myself because I don't need to ignore resistance. So this is what I would run in my warrior PvP build. However, if you are evasion, you should most definitely run all evasion. Then you want to switch in for an all evasion on these. And then you could change the down attack. In general, the first 3 are pretty much mandatory in both these builds. And then the last 2 is preference. So you could switch down attack to resistance, grab resistance, ignore, or whatnot. Finally, this is going to be the cookie cutter build, which is what I think most people are going to be running, or some variation of it. So for me, what I'm looking to be running is again 8p and then damage reduction. If you're evasion, you want to be running evasion, right? I'm not, so I'm gonna be going for accuracy here on mine, because accuracy, again, it works in PvP and PvE. And I will probably go back attack on this one because of PvE. So something like this is going to be my all-around PvX, with a bit more emphasis on PvP, but I could totally see myself over time switching out the back attack to down attack if I don't feel like it's doing enough value in PvE. Then I'd rather have that 4% down attack. So guys, hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions, you can always drop by at twitch.tv/perceptionsprime, where I'm recording this video right now, or drop a comment. I'll do my best to answer any questions, and I'll see you all in the next one.